Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Have the Race Gone. We're here for race one of the round one of the Nukeshot Endurance Series. We're at Monza, and it's been a little bit of a delay for us to bring you this race because of some technical difficulties, but we are here. My name is DirtenDK, and I'm here with Traels666, and we have been waiting to bring you this race now for a week, as said, and as we're looking at the LMP, the Pro Split LMP class about to make their way onto the formation lap, it's Joe of the Fire having taken pole position in front of Armored Core 12, with DirtenDK myself having taken P3, Splurge in P4, and Traels taking P5. And in the GT class, Off Apple took pole position in front of Bear, with newcomer Risky Devil in third, in front of Ninja Karma taking fourth position, in front of the in front of Jermaine, and with another newcomer that is what I assume to be a NASCAR fan.
It just does seem so, yeah.
Placing the Corvette into last position in the GT class.
Obviously a very patriotic gentleman and a very, very pleasurable Corvette with some nice flags on it.
I think the
Let's hope he knows how to turn right.
The Race Like Airplanes team certainly did a good job on making that Corvette livery. Let's enjoy it once more.
Yeah.
Nice one, guys.
Yeah. Obviously a high pressure situation to do the livery for the reigning GC3 champions car.
And
they did a stellar job on that.
Can I say that it's also a car that implies a certain amount of pressure in just racing that car, because we saw last season that the car is certainly fast in the hands of Steve, in the hands of Joe, in the hands of you. So picking this car, I think it
definitely so. But at the same time, it is a bit of a handful. So there is room there to make some mistakes. That's going to be interesting to watch.
Obviously.
In the front, we still have the LMPs lapping around peacefully. See some of the guys doing a bit of swerving to warm up the tires. Others are holding off on that for now.
Now, even though we are transmitting this race after the race 2, which is the first race, it took place a week before what was transmitted on Sunday, so this may be a little bit confusing. But something that I noted in the build-up and in as we were just looking at the replay real quick before starting our transmission here, the LMP drivers are, all but one of us are on the hard compound, and several of the drivers in the other split started on soft compound tires, and actually did surprisingly well. They managed to put in laps that were actually consistently faster, even at the end of the stints, than what we were able to put in on the hard tires. So maybe a bit of a strategical blunder from mostly all of the pro guys. I think Splurge,
possibly so, yeah.
Splurge was the only driver not to start on the hard compound. He is on the mediums. And as I say that, the LMP field is making its way around the Parabolica. And as we come onto the straight, it is Joe of the Fire setting the pace, and as he crosses the pit entrance, he will have the green light to stomp on the throttle. And as I said on Sunday, get the hell out of there. Always an interesting way to start, because it's a bit more of an advantage to have pole position than it is on a grid start. And here they go. Joe of the Fire instantly with a gap. And then there is a really obvious that Armored Core is lacking that hybrid power coming into the first chicane. And there's a bit of a slide from Splurge. Bit of a slide from Joe on the exit.
Core is squeezed by me. I move into fourth. Joe had a bit of a moment coming out, a bit of oversteer with the very high torque of the Audi, but he saves it and pulls through. You see a bit of a gap now coming up because of the battle between me and Armored Core. So there's a bit of a gap up to Dirten.
And everybody gets cleanly through. Or actually, just having said that, I think you maybe have outbraked yourself just a little bit into that first chicane. Always this difficult moment on the first lap, coming into the Lesmos. Oh, and
I'm getting a bit squirmy there as well. I'm pushing really hard here because I see the gap forming up and I have to do something about it.
Let's go take a look at the GT guys. They must be right about having to start. Oh, as we come into T1 off Apple, and he is reset on track. Sure, this is one thing that he will have to consider now in the settings for the lobby, because that was certainly not what he was hoping for. The pace setter in the qualifying, the pole setter
straight from first to second to last with a weird moment.
That was an absolute nightmare start for off Apple, and Gugus is in the lead. He's followed closely by Ninja Karma in the Corvette, and Risky Devil in third in the McLaren. Whitebear is in the Mercedes in P4, that must be.
You can see Apple absolutely giving him everything. He's already made up most of the gap he had from the weird teleportation situation.
As we see Whitebear, was he making the move on Risky Devil there? Oh, it just goes
way
wide
out on the AstroTurf.
And Apple makes a double trouble, taking up 2 spaces in a matter of a few seconds. He is absolutely on a roll here. After a bad start, he's trying to make up amends for it, and he's doing quite well, taking a really good line through Ascari here.
Cleanly through Ascari. Very strong. See, he already made up quite a bit of time on the other guys through that move.
I think this is an interesting race to watch also, because neither the McLaren 650S or the BMW Z4 is cars that, at least that I'm personally not super acquainted with, so I don't really know how they fare out. I don't know where the strong sides are and so on.
Definitely. We're seeing a lot of very interesting entries this season.
Oh, and there's a good battle going on here.
Side-by-side action here for the lead in the GT3 field.
Drag race coming down towards turn 1 as it's Ninja Karma
versus BMW.
He's on the outside.
Hard on the brakes here. The Corvette is very stable on the brakes, but so is the BMW.
Cook is doing a good job here. But I think Ninja Karma got the better exit there through the Curva Grande. Down towards the second chicane. Let's see if he can make a move.
Gugus just moved out half a meter. That's very clever racing, making it a bit more of a long way around on the outside.
Oh, that's good racing there. Brilliant move from Ninja Karma, taking the lead of the GT3 class, and Joe of the Fire is in the pits. Joe of the Fire is in the pits, and he must have had some kind of accident. And that's an absolute shocker to see. Perhaps the most consistent driver.
And he exits the pit still with damage. This might be a mistake from the game, but I believe he had more damage than that from the accident he had.
It might be possible that he actually only had some of the damage repaired, and that is really interesting to see. It will really take something special for him, as the LMP field is now beginning to lap the slower GT3s. And there's a battle for the lead actually in the LMP class right now. Not much of a gap between Splurge and myself. Splurge leading off on his way down to Ascari. And can I say, Traels, that you did a really good job on that Porsche livery too. Not just because it's our team, but I think it looks really good.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
So anyway, lap 4, and the LMP order is beginning to set nice and slowly after the crash of Joe of the Fire, but he is actually not that far behind. He already had Armored Core.
Had a very fast pit stop. I'm gonna call it already. I think this is gonna be one of the stories of the race. Watching him trying to make up the time he lost from that big incident that we unfortunately didn't catch. As we have Armored Core coming into the pits here.
And Armored Core has some damage too. I wonder where he picked that up. Quick stop, obviously only for the damage. And that gives Joe a really easy overtake. Joe really aggressive through turns 1 and 2. Oh, it's Armored Core. Big moment coming out of the chicane.
Yeah, you see him pushing very hard. He sees Joe of the Fire in the front. He knows he just lost a very important position there.
I'm thinking it takes some kind of patience to drive these non-hybrid cars that has more top speed. but just have to accept the fact that you're gonna have a really hard time laying down the power in the same way as these four-wheel drive hybrid torque vectoring LMPs, which is a different kind of car in reality.
Definitely. It's a very odd dynamic sometimes riding in close proximity to non-hybrid cars, being in a hybrid car myself in the LMP class. And I imagine it's the same. It's they go at different times, definitely.
Exactly, but just to remind our viewers that it is like this in real life too, at the 24 hours of Le Mans and so on, that we actually have the hybrids competing against the non-hybrids. Let's just see how the traffic overtaking unfolds here. Because we have Splurge coming through cleanly, taking Gugas. Gugas, I think he did a very good job in the other race, taking care of traffic when he was in the LMP car. He did a sterling job to win race 2. Coming a bit too fast into the chicane there, not getting the correct line, down to the Lesmos. Trying to get that late apex to the second Lesmo, just trying to carry as much speed and then early on the throttle, using as much of the track as possible. Keeping to the left through the little kink and then into Ascari. So we're following Splurge, myself, and in P3 we have Traels. Also just taking care of traffic. Joe of the Fire, as we saw before, is up into 4th place. Still a little bit of a way down, but it will be really important and interesting to look at those lap times unfold. And
Armored Core definitely still seems to be keeping up, got through the traffic nicely there.
And one thing that is worth noticing is that the Peugeot, the 908 diesel Peugeot, it has the best fuel economy of the LMP class. So he is going to be spending, or he could be spending less time in pits than anybody else, and that is certainly worth taking into the equation.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting to see how that unfolds, because we don't actually have any idea how the fuel mixture is going to be, how it's going to work out during the race. But we do know that it does last longer, but it definitely depends on the strategy of the other cars.
And we have Joe in the pits again. And I think that was a really short stop, and that was to take care of the damage, so it wasn't a glitch in the game, it was actually...
He was still needing to fix some aero damage on the front of the car, and that would have hurt his top speed, and he definitely is in the most top speedy of the cars here, I think.
Yeah, I have to say, I think that's quite an unprofessional job from the mechanics, being too hasteful there. Not being
absolutely shameful from the mechanics. They were probably already thinking that was a good time for a cup of coffee when he had the accident, because he had the accident very, very close to the pit, I believe. So they
have had no time actually to
I think
prepare.
It was like you're eating, absolutely hectic.
Indeed, as we see Joe coming through the Lesmos and just carrying a huge amount of speed, you can just see how fast he's going around there. Armored Core. And how's it going for the GT3? Still just Gugas leading out. Y-Bear now having made up a good amount of space. Last time we saw him, he was in 4th place in the class, so he's made up a couple of positions. And he's actually
coming up very closely now to Gugas.
He is moving quite close up to Gugas. Yeah, Gugas is here flashing his light at something. I don't know what he's trying to communicate.
I do believe that was a friend of his in the crowd.
Oh yeah, of course. It could also be a sponsor, Martini being an Italian liquor company.
Quite possibly, yeah. Just making sure the drinks order after the race is completely in order.
Taking a look at Ninja Karma. Gugas through the Curva Grande, but it's been interesting to watch the gap down to Y-Bear, because he has been on an absolute flyer coming through the pack.
absolutely motoring, as it does seem here as well that he has made up more time since we started following this situation unfolding. This is definitely going to be one of the battles to watch for the next few laps.
And Wybear, one of the drivers that we haven't really been talking that much about, the Indonesian veteran who one has to remember that every time he races in the MES he defies the time difference, and he's racing in the dead middle of the night and really committed to this series, and also very much a consistent driver and a steady driver, and that's going to show here today as Gugas makes a mistake. And is it going to be enough to open the door? I mean, Wybear was around a second or a second and a half perhaps behind 4, but now he is right up the tail of Gugas coming into the Parabolica. And Wybear, as we see,
utilizing the AstroTurf on the left perfectly there, getting a very strong exit.
Exactly, I was just about to say that
Mercedes is known for having a very good top speed. You can see it's set up very low here. I do believe it's a very low drag setup he's running.
It doesn't look at that top speed.
It's in the slipstream of the BMW down here, as we see under braking also. He's making up a bit more of that gap, just eating away at it at every chance. Just on the limit, way out on the curb on the right.
Maybe he was a bit far out on the exit there and not able to get as soon as on the power as he would have hoped. It doesn't really seem like he is gaining too much, but Goog is already opting for the defensive line.
Moving wide, also trying to deny him the slipstream. He has to choose between the faster line or the slipstream. That's clever racing from Gugas.
It is indeed. It's very interesting to see Gugas taking the time to make these decisions and make these well thought through decisions in order to give Wybear just a little bit of a harder time, and it also breaks up the rhythm.
Ninja Karma just on the limit, trying to keep up with the fast guys in the front. He was almost had the outside tires in the sand there. Just pushing everything he can out of that Corvette.
But he is still within touching distance after leading to
bumper through Ascari.
Oh, this is getting to be the close racing that we are beginning to know the GC class
from Wybear through the first part, but he got a very strong exit here, and he is in the slipstream coming down the straight.
And one thing that is worth noticing is that Guga started on the soft tires, but Wybear is on the mediums, and it seems like the grading of the soft tires of Gugas has begun for real, because Wybear just looks to have a little more traction coming through the corners right now.
As we saw Gugas continue still under in the middle of the hard race. Oh, he's sliding around on the AstroTurf. And even in the middle of that, he still flashed the sponsor, and that's commitment right there.
That's very professional sponsor commitment from Gugas. Gugas also showing that he is able to multitask, but now he has Wybear on the inside, and I don't think there is any defending this.
A bit more of a run. He had a nose in front, but Gugas is very.
Gugas is.
Oh, he just got caught up.
Was there a little bit of contact
there?
The
floor of the car
even?
was caught. I do believe they touched very quickly.
But
as a matter of fact, Wybear actually got quite a bit of damage from that contact, so that's very unfortunate. You can see the car just drifting a bit as well.
Yes, and the aero damage in the back is also certainly going to affect his top speed. Let's see how much he loses through the first chicane, or excuse me, the second chicane.
In the back you can see Ninja Karma made up quite a bit of the gap as well due to that heavy battle, and
he's going to be in that Corvette just wishing for them to continue battling it out for as long as possible, because it's just going to be his chance to make up more and more time.
In the front of the overall, we have the LMP cars that have now built up just a bit more of a gap.
And we
actually you're still keeping up at this point.
Yeah, there's been this steady back and forth between 2 and 4 seconds with the, as you just see, just turn left, just giving the space.
That was a right hand corner.
Yeah.
As we see, perhaps
as Risky Devil, and there is the contact! No. Catastrophical contact as Risky Devil just moved to the left just as I was about to overtake, and that is...
And we have heavy engine damage, we have aero damage and suspension damage to the Porsche 919. And I do believe that Risky Devil is just absolutely... No, actually, he's not as murdered as I would have believed.
Risky Devil somehow he got it. But
I take my statement back. He is absolutely murdered.
He is absolutely murdered too. None of those two cars.
Somehow not getting any damage to the drivetrain of the car, but definitely very, very heavy damage to just about everything.
It's one very well-built McLaren, one must say. But also at a place that it could be worse. You could have.
See, it happens to me as well. Oh. Where did I go?
Where did you go, Traels?
It's too late now.
You're in the pits?
Yes, I had a small moment. I didn't pit because of any damage, but I will. I had the same moment with Whiskey Devil as well. I wasn't aware of the level of damage he had, and he drifted to the left as I was way too close to him. So something happened. Yeah,
that's what happens. This is multi-class racing in a nutshell.
Let's hope these German engineers are better than the German engineers over at Audi.
I think they will be absolutely furious.
As we see, I do a full pit stop. I believe at this point I'm committed to making the entire rest of the race just on this one tank.
This was what we both thought. I remember this as well, that we both were thinking, well, we're 40% of the race gone. We might actually be able to make it on one stop.
Yeah. We were actually pretty confident that that will work out. I think already now we're foreshadowing that that's perhaps not the case, but let's see how that unfolds.
Exactly, it's going to be, but it's going to be
capitalizing from these mistakes. We obviously have both Armored Core and Joe of the Fire who are now locked in a very close battle, trying to figure out who gets P2 in this race. 20 minutes into the race, and we've already had so many changes of position in both classes.
It has been a very eventful race so far, and we have had the kind of drama that, well, maybe some of the viewers, some of the audience are liking this kind of drama, but from a driver's perspective, it's certainly something that you don't want to see, because it's not a matter of placing fault or blame or anything. It's actually
speed.
The speed.
These are the fastest cars on the track, battling it down the straight.
Oh my! 320 kilometers an hour. That is a full 15 kilometers an hour more than we were hitting in the 919 down the back straight, just for a short notice. That is very impressive. And Joe of the Fire
exit from the hybrid car.
The hybrid Audi just going around like, well, it made. To be honest, in that situation, it made the LMP1 Peugeot look like an LMP2 car.
It definitely did, yeah. As we see the gap building up through these hard accelerations, there's not much that Armored Core can do at this point, but stay calm, maintain as much speed as you can through the corners.
It's true, but
basically wait for the straights.
Oh, as he has a little bit of a moment coming out.
He's definitely focused on maintaining that speed because he doesn't want to lose too much through the accelerations, but that's when you get really wide in some of the corners, which is very scary through the Lesmos.
It is. The Lesmos are scary indeed, and Ascari can be scary indeed too, as you clip left, right, left, and then left, excuse me, left, right, and then left again. Joe of the Fire just putting down a blistering pace on those hard tires. 2 laps in a row of 133s, and in the mid 133s as well. That is quite impressive. And Splurge coming out of the first couple of turns there. Did he have a bit of a moment, or was it just the camera cutting in to make it look like it?
I think he might be sliding in basically every right-hand turn if you look at the tires.
Exactly.
It's worn completely to one side, so that's going to affect.
Oh yeah, you see the car does not look as well balanced at this as it did earlier.
You can see it's impacted his lap times as well. He was doing 134s and he's now up to doing about 136s.
Yes.
So he is struggling now, and it is getting closer to the end.
Oh, as he has a big moment.
Big moment for Splurge. He does save it.
He actually
manages to not get any damage. Very well handled, Splurge.
Very well handled. If I were the team director,
I'd be dead if I was the. I thought you were gonna say if you were the driver. I would be dead if I was the driver. I might also be dead if I was the director there.
No, I would just be telling Splurge to get in the pits. I mean, he's obviously going for. I don't know if he's obviously, but at the lap time we're looking, we maybe should be going for a 2-stop strategy. his pit window for a two-strap strategy is open right now.
I do think I have a very strong feeling he's going to pit.
He is actually going to pit. He was thinking exactly what I was thinking right there. And he should probably even have done it a lap before.
I think it's a good idea. He was probably trying to stretch the stint a bit to give him some more leeway later in the race, to try to see what's possible and maybe have some alternative ideas.
But that's also generally a really good idea.
Yeah. So we see the danger of it there, obviously, because he was pushing beyond what he was expecting to do in a stint, and that's when it gets very sketchy.
Yeah. And he should probably just have accepted to do a couple of laps that were 2-3 tenths slower than what he was pushing on there, if he decided to stretch the stint. But that's always easy to say in hindsight, and it is especially easy to say when you're not driving the damn car.
Saying it from the comfort of a couch definitely does give you some more ideas about what to do. As we see, he's now a bit stressed out from losing the positions he did. Pushing, also, lagging.
This is
obviously lag is a clear indicator of stress.
It is. The internet connection obviously is also connected to the human being, and it also picks up on stress levels, and it reacts in these ways. And this is why you always have to stay calm while racing.
Which is also why you can't ever print papers when you need them for exams.
Yeah, exactly. That is some connection. That is another connection I've never thought of before.
Yep. Yeah, we do teach you a lot of things, mainly about racing, but sometimes also about life here on After Race Bar.
As we see Armored Core coming through the Parabolica.
Staying on that perfect line through there.
Optimal use of that AstroTurf. Something that I must say actually, that what's a little difference that between the AM and Pro Split guys, that not all of the AM Split guys have been as good as at utilizing the AstroTurf coming out of Parabolica, and it's also something that for myself it took myself a while to get accustomed to having to use and being confident in the AstroTurf out there, because it is quite gribby, and you just don't believe it to be as gribby as it is.
That's true. As we see,
Splurge is literally all over the place.
Impressive driving by Splurge, I have to say. I don't know how he did that braking maneuver. That was
I've rarely seen a car go that fast in a braking maneuver.
It was impressive going forwards in the beginning, but the real impressive stuff was the teleportation back again. That's what you don't.
Exactly. I'm just having my own moment there coming out of the second last mode. Also, I am knowing that I'm having to put on quite a bit of pressure, and as a result from that, I actually think that I'm going a bit slower than I could be doing. And having said that, I am on my fastest lap of the race so far. Going through Ascari, nice and tidy.
Curse of the commentator.
Curse of the commentator.
Reverse
of the commentator.
Reverse curse.
Reverse curse. Is that what Splurge suffered from before? No, that's what Apple got hit by the reverse curse into turn 1 on the first lap.
No, that was the actual curse. That's the actual curse of the commentator. I'm not sure we're completely clear on these terms. Let's check out what's happening. I do believe we still have a very important battle unfolding. Actually, the gap is now widened a bit.
Yeah, we have actually quite a good gap from Ybear down to Gugas, but Ybear,
Gugas has pitted since we last checked what they were doing, and he's now doing very, very fast laps. If you look at the last 3 laps he's set, it's been 150, 149, 150.
That's true.
Checking out the similar laps of Ybear, you can see he's losing more than a second a lap at the moment.
But Ybear is insisting to go for the one-stop strategy, and Gugas, I think, is going for the 2-stop. And Ybear is accepting that...
Very, very impressive stuff from Ybear. He's still racing with the damage he had earlier, and he's still setting very competitive lap times.
And it's both suspension and aero, so it's both speed and the stability of the car that's affected by the damage that he has sustained. So very impressive from Ybear, and hats off. As we just seen Gugas put in another 149. That's impressive stuff.
stoking that fire that's building underneath Wybear as he gets close to his pit window.
Ninja Karma. And looking at the lap times, they are quite consistent after the pit stop. If anything, they've been getting a little bit faster. And that could be because he's having to get used to having fresh tires once more, so you can actually take a bit. Ooh, and just as he gets hit by the curse and goes a little bit wide.
Curse of the commentator.
That was definitely the curse of the commentator.
Very, very strong save from him, though. Very nicely held.
Indeed, but you see just how
continue on and perhaps lose not more than a second or a second and a half.
Coming out of the second Lesmo, he has a little moment again, and you just see how it just goes to show how it breaks up the rhythm, and the rhythm is just so important. It goes to the pace that you're in, the rhythm that you're in with every corner, and the.
Sure, you can see he's a bit squirming out through the Starry as well. Not a place I'd expect the Corvette to necessarily squirm around. Let's see how it's affected his lap times as he makes his way around the Parabolica, looking very steady, utilizing a bit of the AstroTurf on the way out, not getting too crazy about it. Clever stuff.
Lap time though,
perhaps
too
lost
impressive.
around 2 seconds on the small mistakes he made through the Lesmos. That's frustrating as it seemed like he was settling into a strong rhythm there.
It's frustrating, but at least it's not a disaster. 2 seconds, it is something you can cope with losing.
For sure.
Google's with another 149.
In the meanwhile, we've actually had Wybear in the pits, so he's now in a completely fixed car.
He is. Wybear, and that was also a long pit stop. You see the pit lap going in 2:17. That is quite a long pit lap. But of course, Wybear, as we hit the half the race gone marker, that also means that Wybear actually realized his strategy of going for a one-stop, even with the damage, as we see Splurge coming up on the inside.
You had to wonder if the lag is a local thing for our replay or if Wybear has the same experience, because he did seem to take a very wide line through there to make sure that he gave him some space to move through. But that is clever and cautious racing, as we like to see it here at the NES.
Indeed, and must I just have a little say here, because this is Wybear. He is in P3 in the GT class, and the other Nukeshot team, the BMW by Nukeshot Motorsports team driver off Apple, is in P4, and Apple is looking like he is a pit stop down, however, on Wybear, so the battle is not really a battle, as he seems to be having to pit this lap. I will think the tires are very worn indeed. He's getting overtaken by me. Let's just follow off Apple for a minute just to see if he does swerve on to the right. That looks like a car pitting to me.
He will stop, make a stop.
The crystal ball has been correct once more.
Get some more fuel for the fire in his car. Get some more firestones underneath his car.
Unintentional puns. We are masters of this stuff here. As we see Wybear, he has some ground to make up. And Ninja Karma on the racing
He does seem to have settled back into the rhythm. He's at a 151.2. Still looking reasonably clean and strong through here. Joe the Fire just flying through.
And Joe of the Fire still in P2, hunting down Splurge, who's defending an early lead, being the only one getting cleanly through actually so far of the LMP drivers.
Yeah.
All of the drivers still running, but also all of the drivers suffering.
Have a butter sponsored
and as we see
Porsche fly by here.
So we have a little moment there with the traffic, and this was something that's worth mentioning. I think when you come out of the Lesmos and on the straight with a little bit of a left kink down to Ascari, and you have to overtake the slower cars when you're in the LMP cars and have to overtake the GT cars, because you change lanes from left to right side of the track, coming through that little kink. It's always just a matter of timing the overtake perfectly, and of course, as in almost all situations, I'd say the main part of the responsibility of getting out of the way or taking an alternative line lies with the faster cars.
Definitely so, definitely so.
So we have Armored Core just making up time ever so slightly.
Gotta say, that is a very nice looking Peugeot, very tastefully clean and simple. Do like the look of that thing.
And also nice to see the Hankook tire company getting involved with more European
about time.
based racing. It's been a while, or it's been a very long time. I don't remember having seen cars with Hankook tires in Europe since, well, in the 80s somewhere. But anyways, very nice car indeed. Very nice design.
Shortly see me bouncing around on the curves. In the front we still have Splurge making his way around the track, looking very steady still. He has a very nice spread time-wise.
But also, Splurge not really taking full advantage of the AstroTurf through the Parabolica. Let's try to just monitor his top speed down here. I see it's quite fast compared to the Porsches. Getting a good exit of the first chicane. Just having to fend off Joe of the Fire.
As we see Joe of the Fire continuing to just motor along, setting...
Oh, that man is absolutely motoring along.
Just motoring along.
He's motoring along, and absolutely, it's actually funny that we're saying that right now, because as we're talking about Joe motoring along, he is setting a new fastest time of the race through the first sector. Let's see if he can keep this up through the Lesmos.
And you can see, as you were talking about with other drivers having to adjust to the new tires, you can see that he's slowly gaining speed on the next few laps as he comes out from his pit stop. And now he's starting to set some really fast ones as he tries to catch up to the lead in the NMP class.
Absolutely, this is going to be Joe's run for the win, and he's absolutely within touching distance. I'd say still 23 minutes remaining, and the gap up to Splurge, well, we don't have, for some reason the timing doesn't seem to work on this replay, which is a little bit annoying, but an estimate there is, well, it's not 10 seconds. It's much less than that.
Much less.
It's
you can
much less than that.
See him on every straight by now. That looks to be around 4 or 5 seconds.
And this is going to be a really interesting finish, because Armored Core, I think, also being maybe even a little bit faster than Splurge on the lap times. Definitely so. Armored Core with a very nice pace, and just having overtaken me. Now there's a battle for P3 in the LMP class. As you can just see, the top speed of the Peugeot is so strong on the straights. I don't know how much sense that made, but it really is a fast car, and well, certainly when we get to La Sarthe, we are gonna have a little bit of trouble. Just as we see that he's having a little bit of trouble coming up through the Lesmos,
putting
a little bit of trouble once more.
He holds it though, keeps going, doesn't seem to have lost that much time, and he's gonna make some of it back before the braking zone. You're in the slipstream, closer and a bit more of it now though. Coming through Ascari, you should be faster through here. Will you get closer?
No, I think I made some kind of mistake through Ascari, because that was certainly not looking as close as we entered. And I actually think I might even have lost the slipstream pull. It certainly looks that way, because he's just sailing away.
That was it, and you were hoping to maintain it for the longest straight on the course as you enter it now, but that doesn't seem to be the case.
Nope.
And it Might be time to just say goodbye to that Peugeot.
Yep.
Bye.
I recall it being the same things that when he does 330k an hour on the back straight in the slipstream of that Corvette who just runs
see
wide.
How menacing that speed can be. He scares Ninja Karma straight off the track.
It was not Ninja Karma, it was just turn left.
Just turn left.
But it was a left turn.
Shouldn't he just have turned left then? More maybe. It's the amount.
Maybe
he doesn't specify what amount it should be.
I hope the audience can see and hear the expression of my face right now. No. Anyways, there is also a battle for the lead as Ninja Karma is in the lead of the GP. Must have missed something. Did Gugas have an accident or something, or was he just in the pits?
He's been in the pits.
Gugas
He's on a two-stopper strategy.
He was on a two-stop strategy and he has realized his last stop.
I think he tried to undercut the other guys as well, because that's a bit early looking at the times. It is a bit early. It's going to be a long last stint for him on the soft compound tires.
It'll be interesting to see whether he can make it work or not as he's chasing down.
It's interesting to see that he brimmed the tank as well. He might not be sure about the fuel strategy either. That must have been absolutely brimmed for him to do one lap and still have that much left. In the front we have Wirebear still running on those tires. He's gonna maintain the one stop all the way through.
But he has managed not to gain any significant wear so far.
And he's still running very fast laps. He actually set his own personal best lap on the last lap here.
Very good work from
faster
Wirebear.
than what Gugas said as well. This was a 49.5. Gugas was a 53.
Oh, yeah, indeed.
50.3, of course. Now Ninja Karma's out. Fresh soft tires.
Really interesting to see that also in the GT class right now we actually have the top three guys pretty much within touching distance. I mean,
I'd say within touching distance.
It's definitely within touching distance as we see Ninja Karma actually quite close to Gugas coming into Ascari here. If that is not touching distance, I don't know what that is, but look at Joe of the Fire having caught up to Splurge.
Splurge can't get
there's
through.
contact!
Gugas
There's contact
as well.
Gugas has been off as well. A huge amount of drama coming through Ascari.
As we see Splurge and Joe of the Fire just neck and neck.
Splurge trying to put Joe on the outside. Joe just coming through there,
getting on the grippy AstroTurf. He's going to get a great exit through there. Splurge is still in the slipstream.
One thing that I'm interested to see is that if Joe sustained any damage from the contact he had with the other car before. No.
Splurge is all good, but he's on very worn tires by now.
Oh, as he just somehow manages to make a Nelson PK move on Joe of the Fire. Was he flipping the finger?
Did he flip the bird?
That
amazing move from
Splurge. What a move from Splurge! I must say that was
on the outside through the first part of
absolutely fantastic and sliding around
completely ruined tires.
That was some piece of driving.
Son. Take a bow. Joe of the Fire stays just right on his bumper. We're gonna see.
That is some huge pressure being applied right now.
It pushes it into the sand.
No, Splurge. What have you done?
Also.
Okay, we apologize for this. Armored Core.
Suddenly everything in the LMP field went completely to shit. Now
what just happened?
Except Joe the Fire and myself has had an accident within the space of 20 seconds.
We just had 20 seconds of LMP carnage. Death and destruction reigned over the LMP field for 20 seconds in Italy. God took a dump and it hit the LMP drivers hard in the heads. And it was certainly horrible. I don't know what happened right there.
F for respect, guys.
That was fantastic. Joe of the Fire in the lead.
Staying ice cold, just capitalizing on the mistakes of just about everyone else.
And
squirmy because of the amount of torque that car is able to put into the tires, but he just flies out of that.
And with all this happening, we are closing in to the last 15 minutes of the race. Armored Core also still within touching distance of the race lead, so it is by no means over yet. Y-Bear is still in the lead of the GT class, doing a sterling job in the Mercedes, getting overtaken there into the Lesmos by Armored Core. Ninja Karma still doing a good job, but haven't really seemed to find the real fast pace yet after his last pit stop.
As you can see in the gaps, he's still losing just a bit of time to Y-Bear. Now that Y-Bear's in a car without damage, without any aero damage that impedes his top speed, the top speed that the Merc is known for having, that it will definitely gain a lot from at a track like Monza.
Exactly. What about Gugas? I am quite interested to see also, but the lap times of Gugas, well, Gugas had a 159.
9 seconds on the mistake that we only saw because he was parked in the sand, but he might have been parked in the sand and caught up in some parts of the mayhem. As he has a big moment. Great Tokyo Drift!
Big moment from Gugas coming out of Ascari there. And, well, that leads me to think that it actually might be Ninja Karma and Y-Bear who's gonna battle it out for the GT3 win. Y-Bear with still but not a commanding lead, but it is sustainable.
It is definitely healthy enough that he can ease off a bit. He knows there's only 14 minutes or a bit more to go.
But as we say that, Ninja Karma picking up the pace, finding his way into the
reverse
149s.
Reverse curse.
Reverse curse indeed.
Impressive stuff. He's really pushing the pace now. Might be a case that they're getting used to the fresh tires, as we mentioned before as well, and now he seems to have settled into a healthy rhythm. It's going to be interesting to see how the gap develops.
It certainly is.
In the front now we have the results of the mayhem. You're in the back of the field now.
I am, and I was really frustrated at this moment. I was trying to find some kind of rhythm again, but I was just, I was just not really feeling it at this point, and I think my lap times also show this at this moment. I just couldn't. Even though I know Monza quite well, I know my braking points and everything quite well. I could do it at night, I could do it almost with my eyes closed, but at this point I was just so far out of my rhythm. Having said that, I'm actually on an okay lap right here.
Getting caught up behind the Corvette through Ascari won't help that lap time though.
No,
you make a safe pass, which is very good, but as far as trying to get a nice rhythm back, that might also impede your progress a bit.
Well,
in the meantime, I'm actually opening up. I think I had a bit of a mistake we didn't see, and now you're getting closer to me. And I was so far in the back during the race that I actually didn't know of any of the mayhem that happened. Further up we have Splurge.
Splurge is down into third, having been in
after the pit
pits.
stop.
Yeah, of course.
And the mayhem that ensued, that to be honest happened so rapidly, and I was laughing so hectically.
I was laughing too, but
I'm not completely sure what happened there.
It just happened so quickly, and
like a row of dominoes.
Exactly, not to find that chain of events just a little bit comically amusing.
In the front,
that is just impossible. At Armored Core
must have made up a bit of time on Joe.
He has certainly made up some time on Joe, and
during the
also
last few laps he's actually gotten pretty close. As we see Jermaine, can I get him quickly enough? Jermaine does a pirouette, gets major, absolute, complete damage.
And goes right into the pits.
Next to the pits. Clever place to get damage, if you're gonna get it at all.
Mechanics are there, they're ready.
Will they be ready
to do the job?
Or will we see another Audi situation?
Interesting to see if he'll switch compounds. That is certainly what I would do in this situation. With
slap on some super soft or something and just go crazy.
Nope, he's out on a set of fresh racing hearts. Joe of the Fire
continuing to set some very steady laps.
Not being afraid of the inside curb.
Generally, the name of his game is just consistency.
Which
set laps that are as fast as some of the fastest laps that most other guys can do, and do that for an hour with no mistakes. And that's almost impossible to do anything about.
But we actually saw him make a mistake today, early in the race.
Yeah.
But I was actually saying this also because I was commenting on CJ's early race mistake from race 2 on Sunday, and
and just as I say that, curse of the commentator strikes again, and he gets out across the AstroTurf. He does save it, but when that happens, pushing it to the limit, LMP car, you know you're just a hair away from a total disaster.
And you are by pretty much all means a passenger in the car in those situations. There are some things you can do, but once the floor of the car really starts scraping on that curb, that just disappears, or excuse me, it appears just out of the...
Did he do just a splash and dash? He went into the pits very quickly. He's also on fresh tires. He might have done a short pit stop. He's still on hards. And that hurt. That definitely hurt what he was gaining on Joe of the Fire, but I do believe that is because he's concerned about Splurge the second.
But did he
setting some very fast laps? You can see the last 2 laps were 1:33s.
Indeed, Splurge has really picked up the pace after having 2 laps of 1:32.
That's gotta be his 2 fastest laps set consecutively after 50 minutes of racing, and he's doing it again, setting the fastest Sector 1 time.
Of all the cars.
Of anyone.
Really impressive stuff from Splurge. Coming through the second Lesmo, down towards the kink.
Blasting away. I gotta say, I was impressed by the top speed that Toyota was able to maintain down there. I think that setup is probably pretty much only geared towards top speed.
It is a really impressive setup.
He has him just huge. That's one of those situations where you feel your gut just sinking into some lower part of you.
That was a huge moment for Splurge coming out of Ascari there.
Did manage to save it to the point where he didn't meet the wall, which is very good. And still just going along. Let's see how that impacted his lap time. Not very much, it seems. That must have been an absolutely blistering time.
I think it actually blew him.
Yeah, blew him from the fastest lap of the race. Possibly.
He might as well have. He might very well have. Oh, as we see him sliding into turn 1. This he has done on several occasions. He really has found the breaking point that is the absolute latest that one can do.
Very, very impressive
in that
stuff.
Toyota. Armored Core looking composed through the second chicane.
And I do think that by now he's focused entirely on maintaining the gap to Splurge and not worrying about what's going on in front.
Actually, as you see the lap time there, 1:35.8, not really impressive from Armored Core. But he might just know
I do think that's because he's entirely focused on just maintaining the gap to Splurge and doing some safe laps. As I say that, he sets the best second sector time of his...
That means the best.
That's happened a few times to us today.
He's on the best lap time through the first 2 sectors.
Yeah, impressive stuff.
It is, and he's overtaking off Apple at the best possible time to overtake. One of those times where overtaking GT cars actually gains you a little bit of time on the straights. So the whole traffic game, which is new to the Nukeshot endurance series, really has made up for an entire new dimension.
Sets a very strong 1:33.1.
That's
very, very nice.
Fast lap time.
So I might have to retract my previous statements. I do believe he's just going full hammer and tom still.
Yeah, definitely is.
You see Gugas taking a bit of a cautionary, staying on the curb, giving a bit of space to Armored Core. That might not be such a bad idea through there.
No, really good sportsmanship there from Gugas, and I think that it was hard to see if there was any. I mean, the accident that Gugas has had through Ascari, that was not really a traffic-related accident. More than it was just a regular going off the track.
Yeah.
But concerning, I think through the other race as well, Gugas has been one of the best drivers at handling the traffic.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. He seems very experienced and very calm and has a great oversight of what's going on. He doesn't seem to misplace his car very often.
Can I just say that the timing right now tells us that Joe off the fire is on a lap that is a whole second faster than anyone has gone at any point until now. Let's see if it turns out it does seem like a very fast time as he comes out. What is that gonna be? Oh, that's a 1:31.4. Oh, he absolutely smashes it, and it's on Racing Hearts. Joe of the fire.
I don't think you're right about that. Looking at the splits, the times, it does seem like he might have made a quick pit stop to get some fresh tires on lap 31.
Yeah, that's true.
So I do think he's known for doing this when he feels he has enough of a gap. He does a very quick pit stop, slaps on some softs or some super softs, and just blasts around.
It might just
trying to beat those. I think that he's going for the all-time lap records. I don't think he's too concerned with the
1 point.
With the just one day and the point. I don't actually think that's his main. I think he's at this point he might be going for those all-time lap records.
Well, the all-time lap record for Monza in the Nukeshot series, it was set last year by... Ooh, that is actually a good question. I didn't get that noted down. But anyways, the LMP lap record for Monza is 1:31.395.
As you see me realizing, because I had a crash. This is not clever directing for me. I'm not trying to hide my accidents, but I had an accident, and which just meant that I was completely out of the race. So I thought, oh, let's give it a go, slap on some super softs and see what we can do. And I'm gonna come back to this. That's good. This is gonna show the pace difference between me in the Porsche 919 and Joe in the Audi R18.
Oh, I have a problem coming out of the second Lesmo. Oh, the first Lesmo.
Killing one of the brake markers.
Oh,
and obviously that's why my lap times were impeded.
Yeah, and Apple gives me a little link down towards Ascari. Splurge in
Splurge also in lap time mode, I think.
Indeed, and that's also a very nice lap time.
Seems like that's the game plan of the entire LMP field outside of... Are you in the pits now? Yeah? No.
No, not yet.
You have damage?
I do have a little bit of aero damage at the front. I actually don't remember what happened and how I sustained it. But
in the rear actually we're seeing something.
Bear being overtaken there cleanly by Splurge. Ninja Karma. Well, he is still within striking distance, but
it would take an accident from Bear, but he is right at the point where Bear still knows that he has to have a perfect race the rest of the way. He can't make any mistakes.
The thing is that at this point, there's 2.5 minutes remaining.
Yeah.
So for Bear not to have many or any mistakes, for that matter, it is not too much to ask of him. He can begin to think that it's possible that he's actually going to win this one.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And saying that, he's putting in a lap time now that is 3.5 seconds slower than his best. And he is running on absolute fumes.
No fuel at all.
He is running on absolute fumes.
Will that even last? Will he make a splash? Does he have?
I don't think he has enough time.
Doesn't have the time to do a splash and dash.
But
without
Ninja Karma is
position.
also running on fumes.
None of the GT3 leaders have fuel.
They might just have timed it perfectly. Let's see, is he coming into the pits? Yes, he is! He's coming into the pits!
Does Ninja Karma stays on a wider line? Does that mean he's going to stay out? The Corvette is very strong on fuel. He does stay out.
That is going to win him
the
the race.
car on the second to last lap, I believe. it will be the second to last lap. That's White Bear.
Oh, the White Bear comes out of the pits.
Absolutely phenomenal pit stop from the German pit crew.
The Mercedes mechanics have done a sterling job there and
with
sent...
less than a second to go. This is going to be a battle right down to the wire.
What racing we're getting here from start to finish in the Nukeshot Endurance Series, a series that just never ceases to entertain. On Sunday we have fantastic racing in the GT class with the no, I can't even say anything anymore, with the Pro split, and now it's the AIM split, guys, providing us with absolute action down to the wire, as we have me just coming through
nice and subtly, discreetly, not making too much of a gap. There was a bit of a gap already.
Yes, I was trying just to really just leave them alone, because I would see...
you know at this point when you see them that you're moving into the battle for the lead in the AM class, and
Exactly.
things are very heated at that point. You need to make sure you give some space.
It's really interesting to see if Ninja Karma can get within striking distance.
Trying to make the same, see them fighting, trying to do different lines.
And he actually was... he just moved out of the way there. It was good work of you to just notice there as Ninja... Oh, White Bear has a little bit of a problem through Ascari, and now Ninja Karma's... He's really close, but White Bear just moves across to cut him off. But this leaves him vulnerable to the inside. Let's see... Can't really have another...
strong top speed from the Merc, you see, able to deny the run that Ninja Karma got on him.
The thing is, of course, that now he has the fuel, the fuel to be certain to, and this is the final lap, so we're gonna have White Bear winning the GT class at Monza just in front of Ninja Karma, with Gugas taking third, and Joe of the Fire is gonna take the victory for the LMPs, coming in front of Armored Core. Splurge the second is gonna take the final podium spot in the LMP class, leading out the two half the race gone Porsches to take the rest. Strong performance from White Bear, and I think maybe the driver in the GT class today who will be feeling most disappointed about his result will actually be Off Apple. Because Off Apple, having put himself in pole position and knowing that he had the pace,
had a very, very strong pace. He had a very strong start,
and then he had a very bad start. Anyways, I mean, he came fantastically off.
He had a very strong acceleration off the line,
but
across the line, and he looked to be set to have a very strong race, and then he just misses the break point on the first corner.
As we see,
that's an expensive mistake to make, especially after the race is over.
So, anyways, this has been half the race gone, and you've been watching the race 2 of the first round of the Nukeshot Endurance, the Nukeshot Endurance Series. No, the Nukeshot Endurance Series from Monza. We will be back next week with the first race of the second round from Lago di Maggiore. We'll be staying in Italy for the European Grand Prix. So, until next time, my name is DirtenDK.
I'm Traels666. It's been an absolute pleasure.
So it has.
See you next week.
Bye bye.
Ciao.